Kawasagawa finally got her time to shine, and I loved every second of it. But that's my thoughts on episode 11 of Remake Our Life, so let's jump into it. See, as I kind of mentioned in my last impressions, unfortunately, Koya, being that he can't figure out, what he's doing wrong, decides to jump out there and help them fix this certain project, this certain gacha game they're currently facing problems with. And yes, he jumps out there and pretty much says, hey, I can fix this. The president guy's like, oh, you're going to fix it? I was hoping you would. You've done this so many times before. But anyways, he kind of lays out this big old spiel about everything that they need to do, including things like, taking 2 days off, spending at least 2 weeks working on the whole project, and all these things that, unfortunately for the president, is not going to be good because they are going to both increase the time it takes to fix this, as well as the cost itself. Even so much as bringing in another engine in order to bring in that, which I don't know. I guess there could be something like that, but yeah, I kind of went, what? When they brought this new engine in, all it had to do is execute. Boom, it's working. Like, it's not quite how code works, but I guess they could have a universal code they're using, and maybe it's pulling from that code. I don't know. Maybe it's just Java or something simple that any engine can read. But even still, it's not going to just fire up, at least. It's going to have some sort of changes done to it beforehand, but it's an anime. Whatever, we'll go with it. I think if anybody, Frontwing would know, so maybe because Frontwing's publishing they know that it would work. I don't know. Maybe they're just kind of going, we know that wouldn't work, but most of our viewers won't know. It was interesting to see, they also kind of mentioned the idea of giving up the rights to future voice actor hiring in order to basically create a little bit of favor to the company that basically hired the lady that went out there and started saying how she got all these gacha characters, because there's a chance of a defamatory lawsuit coming in the future. So there's a lot of really interesting and logical steps that he's taking here. So I definitely like that. It's just, there was a couple of them that's not sure that would work, but even still, it gets the point across. He basically lays out this whole process that would fix the situation. He even, I guess, apparently emailed this dude to bring in an engine before he even stepped up and said that he was going to do it. So, again, we'll just leave it to, we just need to get the story going. But it really does hit home the idea that he's not looking to manage the situation like Kawasagawa was not wanting to do, but she gave up. But it was cool because it's hitting heavy on the idea, you wanted trust in this company. We need to make sure that we fix this properly, bring it back with a bang. And he even points out the fact that, you've done this similar before. You had this situation where you stood up and spoke out publicly about a problem in a software before, and look, it regained everybody's trust. This follows up with him basically making a guarantee to the president that he would get some illustrations, and that's when he goes back to Minori Ayaka, gives her the cover image of Harusora that Akishino had made in order to respark her love for art, and that gets them an illustration, plus she wants to do more. And this is where things come to head. Like I said, I don't know why he's doing this, because it's doing exactly what he said he did before, which caused everybody to stop, which was him coming in there, taking control of things, and making people lose their trust in their own ability. And so, what do we find out? Kawasagawa is heading back to Okinawa, which is what she said that she was going to do before, to run away. And so, obviously, she's going back home. And so he panics and rushes over there, and she's like, you thought I was going to leave? And then she literally says it. I thought it was going to be a fake-out thing. I was kind of like a momentary eye roll to this idea of, she says she's going there, but she's not really going there. But no, she does say, I thought about it. I thought about just leaving, but I don't know how I would be able to repay you if I just ran away. And so again, it goes back to the idea that she was actually thinking of giving up and walking away, just like all these other people in his past that he caused to do. So it's what's really cool about this scene, other than the fact that Kawasagawa basically beats the crap out of him with her bag, which was great. We also get the fact that she's kind of breaking down and talking about how, you didn't rely on me and I loved you, and all this kind of stuff gets, confessed out there, which they quickly kind of like, oh, forget about those last two lines. It was a really great scene because it had her basically yelling at him for basically beating himself up, yelling at him for not trusting in her, talking about the idea that, I don't really understand reincarnation, but if I did, I want to be there for you. So it's establishing the moment she said that, I'm like, okay, they're going to reset again. The moment she said, if I had reincarnated, I would help you, I'm like, there's a reset. We're going to reset. But no, it was a great scene because it was a culmination of both establishing that, yes, he in fact did cause these people to step away from what they were doing. But it also goes back to what I said in last impressions, that there's a possibility that they will establish at some point that you are not these people. These people made their choice. Yes, it's hitting so heavily on the idea of how much of an influence he has on these people's lives, but that doesn't mean that they are suddenly going to go, well, Koya did great, so thus I have no control of my own life, so I'm giving up. No, they made their decisions. So it is a thing of where, yes, he did technically affect them in some way, but they chose their path themselves. And that's what frustrates Kawasagawa, is that she's so mad that he beats himself up about this. He said it once before. He doesn't want to talk about it after that point. But yeah, he did wait for Tsuruyuki to come back. He was upset that Akishino gave up on that. He was beating himself up, and she acknowledged that. But at the same time, it's also hitting on the idea that she's mad that he never asked for her help, which technically he did, and he gave her a whole bunch of crap to do. But I'm guessing it's insinuating that beyond the point that Tsuruyuki walked away, he never asked her for help again. Like, he was beating himself up about that, and so it's a correlation effect. And so he never asked her for help ever again. And she wanted to help him. She says, again, if I was reincarnated, I would want to help you. But it hits on this idea that technically he saved her. I'm not sure exactly what part that's insinuating. Maybe it's the fact that he essentially changed her outlook on people. Because early on, when we seen Kawasagawa in the school, she was pretty, like, uppity about herself and didn't really, and felt everybody was below her. Nobody respected the art like she did, and maybe that aspect saved her. I'm not quite sure that. That's the unfortunate thing. Kawasagawa is kind of like the hidden best waifu of the show. Like, it's so difficult because she's so in the background. And I like that technically there's a reason for it. And that was because he never asked her for help. And she was always there willing to help. And so she was always in the background, unfortunately. And it's nice to finally see her come to the forefront and be like a critical point to his whole issues. And I think that's something they're going to get into as we get into the last episode. I think he's going to rely on her. And I think that's going to be the turning point for a lot of this stuff, is that reliance, plus also the change in his outlook on things, plus his change of, forcing people to not use their own art, but rather to conform to what they need. And I guess to kind of nicely top the whole conversation, she does say that technically what he did in the past did help one person, and that was Minori Ayaka, which is the artist that needed this inspiration of Akishino's art. And yes, to top off the episode, the very end, as he's watching Kawasagawa fly off in her plane, yes, he sits down and Keiko shows up. Keiko's back. So, I guess one, confirmation, and two, there's two confirmations here. Yes, one, that Keiko is the one that's behind everything, but also that, two, we are going to go back. I don't have a doubt in my mind that we're not going to go back at this point. Now, granted, it could open up the next episodes and Keiko's like, well, you made your choices and this is your remake. You only get one shot. Are you going to make it great? And he's going to have to live with what he's kind of made the decisions on. But I think it's more likely that based on what Kawasagawa said with the aspect of I don't know about reincarnation, but if I was, I would help you. And two, the fact that Keiko's here and pretty much stating about the idea that, I figured it was about time for that he asked for, one more retry kind of thing. So I think that definitely convinced me. The fact that they were pointing out so much that he sat down on the chair, as I was thinking, okay, that chair's gonna give out. He's gonna fall back, bump his head, and then bam, he's gonna wake up in the past again. But no, he's got to talk to Keiko. He's got to establish something with Keiko and figure that he needs to have one more shot. He loves the Platinum Generation that much. I do like the fact that would be the driving point. Like I mentioned before, he's never really. One interesting thing, what I noticed when I was talking about the best girl of the season, the thing that kept running in my head was how much Akishino and Nanako, who was initially in my list, slowly drifted away. And I think that's probably because there's not so much emphasis on them as a harem. And I think early on in this show, it gave that feeling of a harem show. It gave that feeling of the MC that wakes up in the bed with the girl. it gives that feeling that this is a harem show, but in actuality, it's not really that. Because Koya's focus has never been on the girls. And that, yes, that's technically a thing with harems, is the ditherer, the character that can't make the decision, that can't realize that girls want him badly. It's more of a thing that Koya's not a thirsty dude. And I respect that. It's not that he needs to be like, oh my gosh, Akishino's in my bed, I better get something. It's a thing of like, Platinum Generation was his love. He was this otaku back in his previous life, and he loved the works of Akishino, the Platinum Generation, and that was his love. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just that was his thing that he liked. It's his inspiration. And so to have this thing that he's always been so focused on, Akishino wasn't really a thing. And it was kind of weird to see this aspect of them, finally getting together. It's like, I never seen him love Akishino. He loved her art, but I never seen him affectionate to her. I never seen him thinking about how much he just thinks about Akishino all the time. We just assumed at some point they just ended up together. Platinum Generation was love. So essentially the one that's going to win in the end isn't a girl. It's going to be Platinum Generation. That's his love. And that's what he wants to focus on. So if you want to find the best girl this season, it's just Platinum Generation in general. You can throw Tsuruyuki in there. Ain't no problem. So yeah, I think that's really it. This entire episode is telling about what's going to happen next. I think Keiko's going to give him one more shot. He's going to go back there. He's going to, I think it will be, I'm thinking it will be the point in which they decide to do Harusora. I don't have a doubt that's going to be a thing. Maybe even what would be nice, actually, is if they started Harusora earlier. Long before they find out that Tsuruyuki's having money problems, he goes, hey, let's just make this. And, why? Just because. Don't say that Tsuruyuki needs money. I know he needs money. Just say, let's just make a game. And then that will give them plenty of time to work on it. He will rely on Kawasugawa to do this. He will rely on everybody to use their own artistry to make it a thing. And then that will be the happy ending. And they can slap, hey, let's call ourselves Platinum Generation, slap that on the back of the box. I think that's what they're going to go for. I even think that there's a possibility that he won't rely on Keiko and their label. Maybe just do their own thing. Because what happens is if they don't use Keiko's name, yes, it might fail, but they will be successful for their own purpose. They'll be successful because they are them. Because let's be honest, when they went to that whole convention, what were people looking at? They were looking at Akishino's art. They weren't looking for whatever her name of her group was. They weren't looking for Keiko's company. They were looking at her art. And she even said that herself. You don't have to have anything good in the game. It could be broken game. They're looking at Akishino's artwork. I think that can sell on its own. So that's my theory. That's where I think it's going, but we'll see. As next week is the finale, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are looking forward to it too. I do hope that you guys will join me here as I do my impressions on it when that time comes around. I've been enjoying the series so far, and I cannot wait to see how it ends. Hopefully it has a really solid ending to it. Hopefully it has an ending to it. I haven't really established if it's going to be ending with the series or if it's going to be a continuation after that, but that's my thoughts on Remake Our Life. Definitely leave a like down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. And support us on Patreon if you have a couple bucks. We definitely appreciate all of our supporters. And y'all take care.